Good morning. My name is Karen Bergman Marsh, and I'm a seminarian on the UU ordination track. It's a pleasure to be with you here today on this early summer day, the last day of May, to worship and to take some time together, even if it's only virtual. I invite you to find a comfortable chair, to maybe have a beverage, coffee, tea, water. And if you have a candle or a chalice, please feel free to have that handy as well, because I'll ask you to light that chalice when we light our communal chalice in a moment. The theme of today's service is thresholds and blessings. And in that vein, I'd like to open our service with the following poem entitled The Liminal, which is by Dr. Reverend David Breeden, who is the senior minister of the First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis. You can't live there long, in the liminal, that old word for that old word, threshold, that place for stamping and stomping and being neither there nor here, that space for transforming, going or coming, from out to in, from there to here. At times, the only question is, how long have I been away? Could it be that I'm back now? And where might that here be? Or always between, if we're thinking. Always in the liminal, where that's neither here nor there. The Reverend Dr. David Breeden on liminal spaces in our lives. So the word liminal comes from the Latin word limen, which means threshold. Thresholds are interesting places. When one stands on the threshold, they are in between two spaces. For example, if one is on the threshold of their home, they are neither inside nor outside. Accordingly, thresholds always present a decision. Should one go out or stay in? Should one go forward or back? Decisions can reveal uncertainty and insecurity, but they also offer possibility. And thresholds give us a place to pause, to rest, to think. Thus, thresholds can be positive, energizing, even liberating, as they often require letting go and leaving behind that which doesn't serve us any longer. Thresholds also come with things, blessings, whether in words or actions. And once a decision is made, thresholds can provide clarity and light in the night of the soul. With that in mind, let us light our chalice, which is the symbol of our faith tradition. If you have a candle or chalice handy, I invite you to light it as I say the following words from the Reverend Florence Caplow, who is minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign, Illinois. We light this flame, honoring the doorways of our souls, windows through which we gaze at one another, the balconies where we catch glimpses of the sky, the thresholds we stand on this morning, wondering, hoping, fearing, dreaming. Reverend Florence Caplow on Thresholds. So our opening hymn is The Blessings of the Earth and Sky, which is number 308 in the gray hymnal, if you happen to have one. If not, you will find the words by Kenneth L. Patton, which are set to the music of 16th century composer Johann Hermann Schein, in your order of service. And even though this is a video, I invite you to sing along. There will be an introduction in the accompaniment by the musical director of First Unitarian. And let me just cue that one up.
Number 308.
Thank you. Thank you for singing with me. So the following reading is actually a song by singer-songwriter Dar Williams. But the words seem to speak to thresholds, those rites of passage, those moments in our lives that help clarify our understanding. So I will read the lyrics, because what are songs but poems one can dance to? The blessings. If you're gonna get your heart broke, you better do it just right. It's gotta be raining, and you gotta move your stuff that night. And the only friend you can reach isn't a good friend at all. And you know when he says, now who dumped who, that you should never have made that call. I had the blessings. There's nobody there. There's nobody's home. Yeah, the blessings. At the moment I was most alone and aimless as a full-time fool. The joke was on me. I got all those birds flying off of that tree. And that's a blessing. And the blessings were like poets that we never find time to know. And when time stopped, I found the place where the poets go. And they said, here, have some coffee. And it's straight, black, and very old. And they gave me sticks and rocks and stars and all that I could hold. I had the blessings. A moment of peace even when the night ends. Yeah, the blessings. Can we meet? Can we meet again at the crossroads of disaster and the imperfect smile with the angel in the street lamp that blinks on as I walk on a mile. The blessings. And the best ones were the ones that I got to keep as I grew strong, and the days that opened up until my whole life could belong. And now I'm getting answers when I don't need them anymore. I'm finding the pictures, and I finally know what I kept them for. I remember. I can see them smiling, see them stuck, see them try. I wish them luck and all the blessings. I was fast asleep at 3 a.m. when I got the payphone call, and she said, "Did I wake you up?" I said, "Hey, no, not at all." And she said, "I got this suitcase and I don't know what to pack." And I said, "You can take anything you want. Just wait and see. It's not a release. It's not a reward. It's the blessings. It's the gift of what you notice more." And I walked out and I watched her kick the big pile of the night. And we sat down and we waited for that strange and empty light. Yeah, the blessings. See them smiling. See them stuck. See them try. I wish them luck. And all the blessings. Dar Williams, The Blessings, off of her album, Mortal City. So the UU theme-based ministry program, Soul Matters, designated the theme for this month to be thresholds, and the sacred word as blessings. Well, these words seem appropriate. After all, blessings usually begin with the word May. And May is the month for graduations, at least here in the United States. Some are moving on from one phase in their education to another. Others are moving on from being students to being professionals of some kind. I myself just graduated from seminary with an MDiv. So I am going through yet another threshold in my life. Indeed, this time of year seems to be an apt time to celebrate thresholds. We're on the threshold of summer. The earth is quickening with life. Blossoms are dying to yield fruits that will feed numerous animals, fertilize the soil, and sow seeds for this and the next year. Birds and other animals are nurturing young, and the sun remains in the sky much longer, warming the earth. With the crossing of every threshold comes a blessing, whether explicit or implicit. We instinctively seek to give or to get blessings for the road that lies ahead. Even when the road has already been rough, we understand the need to stop and appreciate the moment of crossing a threshold. We need to look back at the ground we have covered and appreciate what we have learned from that part of our journey. We also need to give others encouragement on their journeys. And so we bless the journey, ours and others. Indeed, I think blessing is at the core of our fourth UU principle, which affirms and promotes the acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth. When I entered Star King in January 2017, the occasion was marked by a ritual known as the Threshold Ceremony, which began outside. The new students lined up along the sidewalk in front of Star King and faced the faculty, staff, and current students who were standing at the entrance. The light of the winter sun was fading as a faculty member lit the candles that each of us new students were holding. With the words of welcome, the leaders of Star King bade us to enter the threshold as they sang, "Come, come, whoever you are." The words of the Sufi mystic Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi. The experience was magical and deeply moving for me. I felt like I was being reborn yet again, like a fawn making its way through the birth canal of its mother, like the tender blades of an iris cutting through the soil. I was remaking myself again, and that seemed very natural. Indeed, the more I think about it, the more I think that life is a series of thresholds. We move from one liminal state to another in the process of transformation. We are constantly becoming. Now, as I graduate, I am facing another threshold into a new phase of my evolution. A colleague from my days of practicing law told me recently that my choice to be a minister was prescient. With COVID-19, the level of anxiety in the world appears to be at an all-time high, and he alluded that non-anxious presences are needed to help navigate this time. Perhaps he is correct. But I do not perceive COVID-19 as a sign of the end of the world. Rather, I perceive it as a sign of rebirth, a kind of threshold. With the arrival of this pandemic, everything has changed. How we interact, how we move in the world, how we structure our days. And that may not be such a bad thing. While I'm not suggesting that we celebrate in any way this pandemic, which has infected over 6 million and killed more than 370,000 people worldwide as of today, COVID-19 may help humanity to recognize how interdependent we are, not only with other humans, but with all of creation. The lockdowns around the globe have reduced the amount of smog in many places, from Jalandhar, India, to Los Angeles. In fact, because of the coronavirus, the people of the Punjab region of northern India can see the peaks of the Himalayas for the first time in 30 years. It's an apt demonstration of how our individual and collective actions do impact the world around us. COVID-19 has given us clarity in other ways. It has helped us to acknowledge what is truly important and valuable. In his New York Times column a few weeks ago, Frank Bruni wrote about what he is learning from this pandemic and discovering during this quarantine. One lesson is how his dog never tires of him and loves him completely. In my walks around the neighborhood, I have met my neighbors, some for the very first time in the 13 years I've lived here. And I have seen parents with their children playing in the yard. Although I have heard that parenting and teaching and working simultaneously in one place in the home is very stressful and tiring, I have also heard that parents are treasuring this time as well. I'm glad that they don't have to spend several hours of their day commuting. But I am speaking from a privileged position. I recognize that I have resources and I'm not forced to work among the public where I could be exposed to this deadly virus. I also recognize that COVID-19 has disproportionately impacted the poor and members of our society with marginalized identities. According to the Centers for Disease Control, preliminary data indicate that identified death rates among Black, African American persons and Hispanic Latinx persons were substantially higher than that of white or Asian persons. In her article for the Financial Times, Indian novelist Arundhati Roy notes that the structural inequities in India have only magnified the deathly impact of the virus upon the country's poor. She observes, quote, "Whatever it is, coronavirus has made the mighty kneel and brought the world to a halt like nothing else could. Our minds are still racing back and forth, longing for a return to normality, trying to stitch our future to our past and refusing to acknowledge the rupture. But the rupture exists. And in the midst of this terrible despair, it offers us a chance to rethink the doomsday machine we have built for ourselves. Nothing could be worse than a return to normality. Historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine a world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. Unquote. Arundhati Roy on the pandemic as a portal. Here in the United States, the Reverend Dr. William Barber II makes the same observation as Roy. Nothing could be worse than a return to normality. For the marginalized in our society, normal is hell. Normal is constant housing, food, and job insecurity. Normal is harassment from the police. Normal is a knee on the back of a black man's neck. And so, like any threshold, this pandemic poses a question, a choice. Do we want to go back to normal? As a portal between one world and the next, in Arundhati's words, this pandemic offers us a pause to consider what direction we wish to go. It offers society an opportunity to permanently change how we walk through the world. It offers society a chance to change direction. It offers society the chance to repent, in the original sense of the word, metanoia, which literally means to change one's mind. Do we want to go back to normal? I know it may sound strange, but as horrific as it is, the pandemic may be a blessing in and of itself, because it shakes us out of our stupor and our complacency, particularly us who are privileged. Just as the character in Dar Williams' song, The Blessings, the crossroads of disaster and the imperfect smile offer a threshold moment of clarity, like seeing the Himalayas. It's the gift of what you notice more. Just as the character in the song, I have faced heartbreak, not just romantically, but in my friendships and career choices. I have faced disappointment and loss, although, admittedly, nothing as dire as what others have faced in their lives. Yet I have noticed that it was in those moments of deep pain and loss and fear that I have come to the most profound insights about myself and the world. And those were blessings, like the strange and empty light of dawn, or the fluorescent light bulbs of the Convention Center Hall at General Assembly in 2016. I had just gotten another job rejection. I was one of 3 finalists for a position as an environmental attorney with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. I had great hopes for this job. It seemed so suited to my skills and experience. But just before GA, I got word that I was not selected, with that obligatory phrase, "Although we were highly impressed with your skills and experience, and are certain that you would be a valuable addition to NOAA. Rejected again for the umpteenth time, I wandered around the exhibition hall, and my eyes fell upon the table for Star King School for the ministry. And time stopped. It was a threshold moment. I realized that I had been barking up the tree, the wrong tree, for too long. I love the earth, yes. But I also love to write and preach and perform. Indeed, I have never felt more alive than in the pulpit. And I remembered the advice of theologian, prophet, and poet Howard Thurman. "Do what makes you come alive," he said. "The world needs people who have come alive." I realized in that moment that I was at a crossroads, a threshold, a place where the poets go. And here I was being given coffee and sticks and rocks and stars and all that I could hold. In other words, blessings. A moment of peace even when the night ends. I woke up in that moment and saw the light of morning. Thinking about that threshold moment nearly 4 years ago, I realized that my life has been a series of threshold moments, starting with each day. One can argue that we are always in between, in a liminal space, as Reverend David Bremen argues. Because liminal spaces, a term coined by anthropologist Arnold van Gennep to describe rites of passage, are places of transformation, and we are always transforming. Indeed, to live is to transform. And so, for all the horrors that life presents us, it also offers us blessings, those moments of clarity and peace and power. I do not know where the road of my life will lead me, where it will end. But I know now that I am never really alone. And so it seems to me that the only way out is through, and that I must not fear the thresholds, the liminal spaces, the in-between, the night, the rain, or even my own tears. These are all part of life, which is a blessing. And so I wish you peace in your journey of life. And yes, all the blessings. Our closing hymn, filled with loving kindness, is a blessing. The words were adapted by Mark Hayes from a traditional Buddhist metta and set to music by Ian Riddle. Metta Bhavana is a form of meditation in Buddhism used to develop compassion. Metta is a word in the Pali language of India that means goodwill or loving kindness. The words, which are printed in your program, begin with the blessing of self and then are repeated, substituting the I with you on the second round and substituting the I with we on the third round. If you happen to have a teal hymnal, that hymn may be found at 10:31. I will be singing to the accompaniment of Maki Ito Paradik of the Carbondale Unitarian Fellowship. Give me a moment to cue it up, and we'll sing it together.
And the third verse, may we be filled.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled May we be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. I have to make a correction. The accompaniment was actually by Fred Dodry, who is the musical director of First Unitarian Church of Providence. Now comes to the end of our service and the extinguishing of our chalice. I will be reading the extinguishing words number 563 in our gray hymnal. And I invite you, if you had a candle or a chalice lit, to extinguish it at this time as I say these words. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. May you go in peace. And in closing, let us all sing together, holding hands together in our mind's eye. From you I receive, to you I give. The words are again printed in your program. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be. Go in peace, and I'll see you soon with all the blessings.